Hi, welcome to Bad Movie Reviews.
This is 4-2! Heavy contact!
Sounds big.
We are being flanked on all sides!
Despite the fact Australian troops have played a role in every major conflict of the 20th century, war movies are hotly synonymous with Australian local film industry. You could almost count every Australian war film with just two hands. While American cinema has exhaustively covered their disastrous Vietnam War, the tales of the 60,000 Australian troops who served in the combat have barely been touched. In the annals of Australia's military history, 1966 Battle of Long Tan is a moment that's given little coverage, spurned by the shameful fact it took the Australian government 45 years to even acknowledge the battle actually occurred. As such, a film like Danger Close, The Battle of Long Tan, offers a wonderful opportunity to capture the plight of 108 Australian troops who came under attack of a North Vietnamese battalion numbered in the hundreds. While the film's brutal and unflinching battle scenes are superbly crafted with an intensity that's truly unsettling, the thinly drawn characters leave little impact in a piece of cinema, let down by its over-reliance on tired cliches and generic war movie tropes we've seen dozens of times before. Impressive production values and meticulous war zone recreations just are not enough to craft a full-rounded end result. Taking his audience right into the heart of the terrifying horrors of war, director Kriv Stenders crafts the sequences with an intimacy that creates an almost voyeuristic quality to the action. Complemented by the evocative cinematography and the frantic and chaotic editing, the film barely allows its audience to catch its breath before unleashing another wave of intense terrors that perfectly capture the turmoil these soldiers endured. But it's difficult to empathize with their plight when there's barely any consideration given to flesh out these men into actual characters you care about. The screenplay from Stuart Beattie is far too concerned with the history of the event than those who found themselves stuck in the middle of it all. There's little introspection into what made these soldiers tick, particularly Smith, who is nothing more than a shallow soldier archetype seen in every war movie since the beginning of cinema. The only character to be blessed with a semblance of depth is young Private Paul Large, played by impressive Daniel Webber, who begins the film as an overly confident soldier without an inkling of what combat is truly like. Large is one of the few soldiers to be given a backstory, offering Webber the chance to portray a dimensional character to elicit plenty of empathy from an audience. If only such care was given to his fellow cast members, the film may have landed more emotional impact. For all its patriotic pomp and circumstance, Danger Close, The Battle of Long Tan fails to acknowledge the inescapably obvious fact the Australian troops were ultimately the aggressors in the Vietnam War, blindly following the lead of American troops into doomed combat. Unlike other films centered around the disastrous and shameful conflict, there's no concern shown to the unnecessary reasoning behind Australians and Vietnamese soldiers attempting to slaughter each other. Perhaps some may find it refreshing to find a war film ignore the politics and just focus on the battle. But with this war in particular, it's irresponsibly tone deaf to refuse to even mildly acknowledge the dirty backstory as to why these men are even here. That's not to take anything away from the immense bravery of these trapped soldiers and the senselessness of the 18 Australians who lost their lives in this battle. But, in its misguided final frames, the film almost wants its audience to be proud that 245 Vietnamese men were killed by the troop of only 108 Australians. But director Stenders clearly wants his film to exist as a purely Australian perspective of the historically forgotten conflict, no matter how one-sided that may make the final product. If nothing else, Danger Close, The Battle of Long Tan stands as a tribute to the men who survived a seemingly unsurvivable battle. History has barely acknowledged the events of 18 August 1966. At least cinema can bring some light to it.